Salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is still doing well, and welcome to today's bonus upload. Before we jump into it, a couple quick links. As many of you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, channel membership, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon, PayPal, and channel membership is in the description below, the merch displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. Those audiobooks, well, they're available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support the channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It does not cost a cent. Click the like button. It takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of the informative uploads that I put out daily, click that bell icon, and folks, please leave a comment and share the video. Why? Well, because all of these things really do help the channel to continue to grow and go. They definitely do matter, and they are appreciated. And with that, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's jump in to today's bonus, shall we? As many of you know, Saturday Nightmares live from upstate New York. Our live stream, 12 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I do hope to see you all there tonight. But there is someone in that live stream community that many of you know. She welcomes everyone to the channel. She is kind of the unofficial or official den mother of this channel. And I am only one and only person, Jane. So I figure, well, you know what? Since it is the live stream and we're all going to see Jane tonight in the comment section, or what do you call it? The chat. Why don't you guys hear Jane's experience firsthand? And I absolutely love this interview. I've interviewed her twice, and I'd have to say the first interview was probably my favorite because it was when Jane and I really just got to know each other and talk for a while on the phone. So here is that amazing interview. All right, everybody. Today I have a subscriber who you guys in the comment section know and love. Jane has come on to share her Bigfoot encounter. She also has a couple of other incidences that have happened, and if we can't get them in the 45-minute today, we'll have her back on. Jane, how are you?
I'm great. How are you today, Jeff?
I'm very good, very good. Thank you for coming on. And
it's my pleasure.
Thank you for sharing your encounter with us. I'm very excited to hear it. I've been wanting to have you on for a couple of days, well, about a week and a half now, but so we finally got you. Yeah, I know. So as you know, I don't direct, so pretty much what I'm going to do is I'm going to give the floor to you, and you can share your encounter with us.
Alrighty, well, I thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, well, we have to fade back to 1977. I had just been married in 76, so we were going on a cross-country trip. We took 2 of those. We went for 3 weeks, and we traveled up along the top of the country. Beautiful country, by the way. Our country is just gorgeous. And, we went to a lot of areas. There was an area in Wisconsin that I found was a very heavily treed area that I found to be a little creepy. You kind of had that I'm being watched feeling. So, and my dogs didn't like it either. I had my 2 Dobermans with me, which I will refer to as the girls. And loving and very protective. So we're traveling along. We get to Mount Rushmore. We walk around Devil's Tower, and which I was looking for the scene in Close Encounters of the Third Kind, not realizing that was a movie set. But we get out to Montana. Montana is where this happened. Beautiful country. we're driving along, and the husband at that time decides that he wants to pull down this. It was called a road, but there was not even two tracks. There was just grass, like a kind of a very sloping valley. And it was called, I forget the name, it was called a canyon. And so there was, it said camping. So we drive down. It took us, we had to go very slow because we had to pick up with a camper that you drove under and attached that way. And that is where the girls rode in the back. So we're driving down, and I'm looking around. It took us a half hour to get to this very isolated, desolate camping ground. It was a huge, like all dirt, was kind of a roundish area with little short trees in the center. So we pull over in this one area. Now it was by kind of a little cliff. There was a river down below that was beautiful. I could walk around. I walked down there with the girls, and they, very oddly enough, stuck right to me. They didn't want to leave my side. And being Dobermans, you know, their ears are always up straight. Their ears were down, and they kept smelling the air. I never smelled anything. And, you know, they got a drink, and I got some water, and we did some stuff, and I walked back up to the truck, and which it was beautiful there, I have to say, but I did feel rather isolated. But, you know, John wanted to camp there. We did see another trailer type camper that you drive, but never saw the people. And there was a few chairs and stuff, and that was it. So we set up our stuff, and, you know, I'm cooking. It was later in the day, and the whole time I noticed the girls hopped back in the camper. They didn't want to go around and explore, and I thought, well, that's kind of odd. And I'm, you know, just cooking away, and it gets to be, I don't know, probably around 10 o'clock, and we decide to put the fire out. We were always very good about that. We get into the camper. The girls, again, did not want to come out to go to the bathroom, and we're laying there talking. And the next thing I know, you see like this glow outside the curtains. I will never forget this. It's like even right now, as I close my eyes, I'm jetted back to that horrendous kind of a chest punch feel. Very, very odd feeling, pressure to your chest. And I looked at John, and he moved the curtain, and standing next to our campfire was a Sasquatch. It just takes me back there. It's kind of brutal. I'm looking at my ceiling. This creature was probably about 8 feet tall, I'm going to guess. He was sort of silhouetted. I couldn't really see his face, but he was standing there. He was your typical, like when you see a shadow of a Sasquatch, he had that very kind of a pointed head, no neck to speak of, very wide shoulders, big chest, looked very hairy, a very heavy creature, like very capable of pushing us over the cliff, which is what we were worried he was going to do. I mean, at that point, all I could feel was like this pit of my stomach fear. And I just remember looking at it, and it started to rock back and forth. And I remember thinking, oh my God, it's going to just push us to the point where the truck just goes right over into the river. It was about a 15-foot drop. We weren't that close to the edge, but knowing what I know now, it would not have taken much for this creature to do this. And it just stood there. And I'm thinking this went on for a good 20 minutes of the terror. I mean, I looked at my dogs. My girls were laying on the floor of the camper. The poor things had urinated. They were totally terrified. I put towels under them on their beds, and it was like you were afraid to move in the camper. You didn't want to make anything shake or have it notice anything different. Yet I know it knew we were in there. That I don't know if it was a male or female. I know some people comment about that, but I don't know. I just noticed a very heavily legged, heavily bodied creature. And like I said, it was rocking back and forth. And I know that that's a behavior of primates. Not that I believe Sasquatch is a primate. I don't. But I remember watching it thinking, what is he thinking? Like, what is he going to do? And it was just John and I kept looking out the curtain. And I said to John, what if we just kick out the window in the back of the camper through the back of the truck, and I can crawl through and we'll just get out of here? Because we could have worked our way around him, but John wouldn't do that. Excuse me. And, you know, for going cross country, we didn't have any kind of guns. We had nothing. Not even a decent knife, really. And I just remember the total, it's like this panic and that you've never felt before. And then I started to become extremely nauseous, and John kept looking out, and I looked a few times, and it was doing the same thing. And we looked at one another, and we didn't know what to do. And the next thing, this is the really weird part, where people used to give me the eyes. The next thing I know, we were waking up, and it was about 5:30 in the morning. It was like it happened in a flash. And I mean, I know other people have had more one-on-one encounters, but I don't know what happened. I don't know. We just were out. So we got up. I got my dogs. I had to literally drag them out of the camper. I didn't really want to walk down to the river, but I did with them to wash them up a little and get them set. And as we're walking back, this creature I didn't realize was watching us. He was standing. I'm not good with distance, but I don't know, maybe 50 or 60 yards or a little more away. There was like this little rise, like this little hill within the woods, not thick woods, but enough that so you could see his shadow, which I hadn't noticed when I stepped out of the camper. And, excuse me. And this creature let out this scream, this bellowing scream that I will never, ever forget as long as I live. It brought back, I had an immediate pressure to my chest. I looked at John. I think he had the same thing because he brought his hand to his chest. I again felt nauseous, and I said to him, we have to get out of here. So we got the girls back in, got the 2 chairs in, and we took off. And it was just brutal the entire time because I'm pretty sure it was following us out. And we got out to the main road. Again, we were in Montana, and we see this little general store, very cool place. We wanted to stop and just kind of shake off as much as we could of this whole thing because it was kind of terrifying, actually. It really made you wonder what was going to happen. And we go in the store, and there's this great little wooden floored store, potbelly stove, general store. And this little old man sitting there in his overalls, white hair, long white hair and a beard. And John's talking to him, and I'm walking around. And the next thing I know, they're waving me over. And I'm like, I came over, and the gentleman says to me, he says, young woman, he said, is it your time? And I looked at him, and I'm like, what? How does he know? John must have told him what happened. And I looked at him, I said, excuse me? And he goes, your time. And then I realized what he meant, time of month. And I immediately became so creeped out by that thought even. And I said, yes, it actually was. And he looked at John. He said, don't bring her anywhere to camp unless there are other people around. And he said they've had women abducted, never seen again. God knows what happened to them. You don't know. And it was just, it was one of those things that I will never, as long as I live, forget. And it was a couple of years later, after we were divorced, I remember I was at my parents' asleep on the couch, and my dad was watching what we always watch. We watched One Step Beyond and all the Leonard Nimoy In Search Of program, so I was always into, the Sasquatch thing. Well, I wake up sitting up straight in a cold sweat because they had somewhat imitated the scream. And it's a very distinct, kind of awe-inspiring but frightening sound. And it kind of goes right through you. And I sat up, and my poor dad looked at me, and he goes, "Oh my God, kid, what's wrong?" And it was at that point I told my dad what happened. And he, of course, believed me, and my parents believed me. But this is the first time I've really ever talked about it, because people give you, a hard time. And I've always lived around water. Right now, there's a brook here on our property and a river. And we have quite a bit of activity outside that I know to be. I'm looking at 2 trees right now that have been bent over. And I know that's one of their marking signs, I believe. We've heard a lot of tree knocking. I have heard not the real chimp whoop type of noise, but a woo woo like that. And for years, I always thought that was just some type of bird, because where I lived in New Milford, there was a lot of activity. At that time, I had 3 Rottweilers and a Doberman, great animals. I had such good dogs. And there were nights when I would open the back door to let them out, and they would not walk out that door. And the smell was just kill you. A very sulfury, very musky, kind of a raccoon bear, but not a bear, because I know that smell. So I know they were around there also. But here on this property where I'm living, this was my parents' home, and we took it over. There is a lot of activity and things going on out in these woods, and I know that they're here. I've heard that there was someone that heard a lot of screams. I have not heard the screams. Like I said, we have a lot of signs of them. I've never seen any footprints. But every time I see something that I know is them, it just brings me back to that Montana encounter that happened. And another thing actually that happened along that trip, we got out of Montana and we got into California. It was beautiful. The beaches, it was a very desolate beach. The beach was on the one side. There was tall grass in the parking lot, kind of a road that you could drive through. And on the other side of that were the coastal redwoods, just huge, giant trees, and beautiful. So we stopped, and we figured we're going to stop at the beach and walk around and take a look at that. And there
Jane,
was
sorry to cut you off, but were you up in Northern California, like up by Humboldt County?
Yes, in Northern California.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, I should have said that.
No, that's fine.
And, we're walking along the water. The dogs are running around. And then all of a sudden, the girls stop. They look at us, and they run to the camper. And I looked into the tree line, and I saw a shadow. And I said to John, "Don't look. But we actually need to go back to the truck and leave." Now, I didn't really see anything more than a shadow, but you could, and I've heard many people describe this, you could feel that you were being watched. You just knew they were watching you. And I was like, oh my God. On the heels of what happened in Montana, I said, I can't do this. And so we left, and, we traveled around, and like I said, that was the encounter, and that was the kind of a small second encounter. And that was basically it, other than I'm having a lot of activity in these woods, like ongoing activity. And there's many times when I'm outside at night with my little dog, Louie, that he's a little mini pin who thinks he's a Rottweiler. And he'll stand there, and I'll hear things out in the woods like a snort, and I'll think, well, that's probably a deer, but it's a little off. I have heard one of the nights about a week and a half ago, Louie and I were outside, and I heard what I thought was an owl, like this hoo hoo, but it wasn't exactly right. It wasn't like 2 nights after that, I definitely was hearing an owl. I wasn't sure what that was, but that was an owl. This particular night that I'm talking about with Lewis outside, this noise was very close to us. I believe it was like right down on the other side of the driveway. And Louis stiffened up, his ears went back, and I looked at him, and I looked out there, and I heard it again. And I grabbed him and went inside, and I could hear something walking around outside that, we have a lot of deer that come through. We have a bear that comes through. We have little bobcat and a cougar that is around. So we have a lot of animal activity. But I do believe the apex predator was out there kind of walking around the property, because I've had my bird feeders. It looks like they're vandalized, and I thought it was bear at first. But now I'm not sure. So that's basically what I've had going on as far as, the Sasquatch, and that's kind of an ongoing thing.
Right. Now, really quick, what state are you in now?
I'm in Connecticut.
Connecticut, okay.
Yeah, I'm in Connecticut. And one night I even heard, I don't know if you guys remember, when I was a kid, I'm 65, so when I was a kid, we used to have these little clickers, and they clicked a very distinctive metal click. And another night, here I am with little Lewis outside, and I hear click, 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 like 5 clicks. And that was definitely in my driveway. I don't really know what that was, but I have never heard anything that sounded like that before, other than playing with those things as a kid. It was the same noise.
Yeah, it was like a little aluminum thing that click, click, click.
Yeah.
Yes, I remember those things.
Yeah, and I mean, no, you know what? I have heard some whistling, but it's hard to know, exactly. I've heard that periodically, but mainly it's a lot of tree knocking. We've had quite a bit of that. That's very obvious what that is. And I just think that, I don't know, I know there's other places that are highly active, but I definitely believe we have, 1 or 2 of these beings around. And it's my feeling that they travel seasonally, I think, because I have quite a nice little brook going through the property that comes down to the big river there. And I kind of think they're following the river with the seasons, and they go and I don't know if they den up or how they live, but yeah, that's pretty much what's going on.
That makes a lot of sense about the traveling. I mean, like I've talked about it, and I believe that they use the waterways as a natural roadway. I mean, it's perfect. They don't really have to. I mean, how often are people down by a river? There's always people down there, but they can just travel in the inside wood line and not be seen, and then at night just haul ass right through on the riverbed or stream bed or whatever.
Exactly. And we do have a lot of woods here. There's a farm next door, and the river is surrounded really by woods. There's houses like mine, but they're pretty far back. So, like you were saying, I definitely think these creatures can follow the water line for quite a long way.
Yeah.
This is a pretty big river.
Yeah. Now, the thing that really kicked in for me when you were talking about the Montana thing is that it kind of validated something that Victor had said a while ago with the female agents, and why people were like, why don't you have female agents? That's a real validation. I do know that when I have Kuhnbo back on, he's going to share something along the line of what you just shared with us too. But I mean, that just puts a whole new perspective on these things for me. And, you know, because you really
Absolutely.
don't think that, you know, we're a whole different species. And you wouldn't think that would be anything that'd be interested in, but who knows, you know, they're not.
But they are, apparently. Yeah. I mean, you know, from what that older gentleman told me, they had abducted women. You know, they'd go out to hang up their laundry and just never reappear. And the other thing that bugged me about it, Jeff, was that I can't remember, like I remember about, and the reason I remember approximately 20 minutes because John had a watch on. And then all of a sudden, like nothing. Like I didn't dream. I don't know. I woke up, sat up, and we looked at each other, and it was like about 5:30 in the morning. It's like there's this whole period of time that kind of freaks me out as to what happened. I mean, it wasn't just the time of month thing, which really creeped me out.
Right.
But that whole instance where am I just blocking it, or did it just use like an infrasound and just put us out? I mean, you know, the rocking back and forth too. Like,
yeah, the swaying, the creepy.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Like, what are you thinking? You know, and I don't know, you know, I would just have to warn, especially women traveling, you know, be very cautious about where you go and that kind of thing, because I believe they're all over. Wherever I've lived, I've been near water, and they have been around me, you know, and I could feel them you could kind of feel that they're there. And I would just always caution women, especially, you know, going hiking or whatever you're going to do.
Yeah. That, when I asked about Northern California, like we got Humboldt County, and, you know, there's been a lot of disappearances up there.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, some people say it's because, or Humboldt County, it's because the marijuana trade, it's where they grow a lot of the marijuana seasonally in some of the best pot, I guess, in the world is grown up there. But what happens is during the grow season at the end, these kids travel, you know, like the little, you know.
Oh, harvesters.
Yes, and they go and they get hired by the growers to clip and stuff. And there's just tons of missing people in that area. And, you know, female, male. I'm wondering if that has anything to, you know, do with it. I think I'm going to do a little bit of a investigation on that and kind of look into that a little bit, because who knows?
It must be an attractant.
Yeah.
You know, because hunters use a variety of things to attract the bucks. But it always amazed me when I thought about it. Like, I do, you know, I believe Melba Ketchum's research, because she proved it over and over about them being, you know, a percentage human and then the other is unknown.
Right.
So maybe that's the connection, that they're not totally disconnected from us. But, you know, I mean, it's just odd that it would be attracted to the point where it came down. I don't even know how it started to stir the fire up. I have no idea, because we put water on that. And I will just never forget seeing that glow and that flame, that glow through the curtains. I will never forget that. I couldn't imagine what it was. And then when I saw it.
Now, he didn't look right at you, or did he? Did you see any eye shine or any?
No, because he was standing next to the fire.
Right? Okay.
Yep. But he was standing, you could tell he Jeff, he was 15 feet away from us.
Right.
And he just stood there rocking back and forth. And I'm like, oh my God. And I looked and I'm like, but really, I could only see a silhouette. I mean, and that was it. But it was definitely a very large looming silhouette.
Yeah.
Very large.
That's terrifying. I mean, and then to have it validated with the old guy at the store on top of the totally odd question, I mean, but it's at least you got some sort of answer out of that, probably not the answer you wanted, but at least it's an answer. So
yeah, I forget what he said to John about, because John told him how we were watching it and all of a sudden here we were waking up, and the gentleman said something. I don't remember exactly what it was about what it can do to people, but that was after when he asked me about my time. And
right.
I'm like, what?
Yeah, that is crazy. Well, we are about 35 minutes in. We got about 10 minutes. I know you got some other stuff you want to share. If you want to come back, I'm thinking about kind of branching off and doing like a little bit of paranormal. Other stuff.
I have so much stuff.
If that's something that you're interested in, and doing like a whole little paranormal stuff and sharing that with us.
Absolutely.
We can.
It's been an interesting life, my friend.
I'm sure. So after we end the interview, I will stay on the phone with you, and then we can figure out a day that works for both of us. All right?
All right.
All right. Is there anything you'd like to say to everybody before we let you go?
Well, my mom had a saying, and I'm always reminded of it. I know it's not an exact quote, but she said, "There are stranger things in heaven and earth than dreamt of by man." And it definitely applies. And to the women out there, be very, very careful. And to the men, when you go out hunting, just be really careful. Stay frosty. Stay very aware. Use your peripheral, because that's where these things work. They show up and they watch you, and just be careful,
Yeah.
Be safe.
Some sound
Stay together,
advice.
Don't drift apart.
Sound advice right there. So, all right.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. It was great having you
You're
on,
welcome.
And we'll talk soon.
All right. It was my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Thank you, Janie, for sharing that experience with us. I do hope to see you at the live stream tonight. I hope to see you all tonight at the live stream. We have an amazing community and just an amazing time. A lot of serious experiences and theories, and then we have a lot of fun too. Our live stream is comparable to a mullet. Business in the front, party in the back. And with that, I'd like to thank you all for supporting the channel. It is your support, after all, that helps the channel to continue to grow and go, and what gives us all a place and a chance to share our experiences and theories judgment-free. Everyone is simply treated with the respect that we deserve. Please stay safe, happy, healthy, and ever vigilant, keeping an eye on our children, pets, family, and friends. These creatures are real. These events have happened. Share this information with those you love and care about. And it may just help save their lives someday. Until next time, never stop asking questions. Never stop searching for the truth. And God bless you all.